Are you ready to go back to 1995? This next guest will bring you back.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Do me a favor, see that little button on the bottom of your screen, click subscribe. Helps our channel grow, helps our audience grow, and frankly, I truly appreciate all of the support. If you're listening in the car, when you finish, do me a favor, do a quick 5-star review. And finally, a special shout out to all of my everydayers. Thank you for giving this new UConn content a shot and helping us spread the gospel of UConn hoops. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment count. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to introduce our next guest. He's a retired professional basketball player who has an impressive 11-year career excelling on courts across the world: Austria, Ukraine, Sweden, Turkey, Germany, as well in the CBA and the NBA Developmental League. A standout player at UConn from 1995 to 1999. He was an integral part of a team that achieved a remarkable 114 wins. His tenure at UConn included a Big East conference record of 55-17, 3 Big East regular season championships, 3 Big East tournament championships. His leadership and skills propelled the team to significant NCAA success: Sweet 16 in 96, Elite 8 in 98, finally a 1999 NCAA championship victory. He was a 3-time co-captain at UConn, ranked 7th on the all-time list with 510 assists. His defensive prowess is legendary, earning him a spot on the 1999 Final Four in West Regional All-Tournament teams. He was the 98-99 National Defensive Player of the Year by Basketball News magazine. In 2001, his legacy was further cemented when he was selected to UConn's All-Century team. Please join me in welcoming the great Ricky Moore. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
I mean, what about that intro, man? Like that, I'm your hype man. I love it.
Exactly. I thought you were gonna go a little longer, so I was.
you're about to go have dinner and come back, and then be like, oh, you're still going. I could have, man. That's a short intro. Listen, no words can describe how UConn fans feel about you, and I'm sure when you come across their screen, they're going to be excited to see you. So again, thank you so much.
I truly enjoyed my basketball experience at UConn. You know, building a brotherhood with all the guys and all the success we had under Coach Calhoun, Howard Dickerman, Carl Hobbs, Dave Lato. Just looking back upon that, I wouldn't have changed it for the world. You know, I had a lot of opportunities to go to any college I wanted to. And I just felt that, once I went up to UConn, the basketball family, I knew that was a special place. And so I decided to go there.
It's great, man. And so let's talk about that. Freshman year, you come in from Augusta, Georgia. You're part of a recruiting class that had Rashmel Jones, Antrick Kleber. You get to a team that's pretty entrenched with stars, right? You got Ray Allen, Deron Sheffer, Kurt King, Travis Knight. What was your mentality coming in as a freshman right off the bat?
So after the first practice, it was surviving practice. So the competition level, with all the names that you just said, day in and day out, we were competing at a very high level. So, a lot of times once you got to the game, it became easy and you were used to that. So, they put us in a very competitive environment and all the success followed. But yeah, those are some great names that you mentioned, and having an opportunity to play with those great players. I never took that for granted. I knew how good we were going to be. And before I got there, I kind of followed those guys throughout their season. And I knew I could come and add something special to the team.
Absolutely. Is there a name I didn't mention that would surprise UConn fans? Maybe it's someone that didn't have a ton of stats, maybe didn't get a ton of playing time eventually, but just kind of like as a freshman, you came in and you were like, wow, this is different.
Well, I think, with all the names you name, I mean, most of those guys, I mean, those guys were competitors. So
Yep.
like any drills that we did, you couldn't relax. I mean, you're going to get exposed. And, I've had an opportunity to be a part of, I think 5 or 6, going back to high school, 6 championships maybe. And, 2 being at UConn, 1 as a player and 1 as a coach. And I think when you create an environment that's competitive and positive, I think great things follow. And I could say I can see that with Dan Hurley right now. The success they've had is, he's getting the guys that he wants, but he's also putting these guys in a competitive environment every day in practice. Now, I haven't had an opportunity to go up to practice or visit because I'm, working at North Carolina A&T myself. So, but yeah, that's basically what, championship teams are built on, is that type of environment and competitiveness every practice. And so I think that was one of the most fun things that I enjoyed about being on those teams, were competing every day. Some days you come and you just don't have it, and your competitor or your teammates not going to allow you to, be down. You know what I mean? You got to try to find a way to win, and try to find a way to win that drill, win that day. And, those are the things that I really appreciate after looking back upon that.
So we're going to talk a little bit about, fast forward to later on that year. It's Madison Square Garden, Big East final. I think it's March 10th, 1996 to be exact. And there was a quote in the newspaper, New York Post, that you were quoted as saying, "I'm as quick as Allen Iverson, so bring him on." Do you remember that?
Well, I probably said it because he kicked my butt the first time so bad. I had no other option to say anything else but to say that, because, I think the first time I matched up with him in college, he had 25 points, 10 assists, and 10 steals.
Okay.
And so they beat us up down in DC pretty bad. And I can remember Coach Calhoun getting on the bus not so happy. And so I knew the second time that we played him that, I just wanted to prove to not only myself, my friends, and people that watched me play throughout high school coming to UConn that, they've seen a different Ricky Moore than most UConn fans seen, because I was known as a defensive player mostly at UConn, but when I was in high school, I averaged 24 points a game. So, it was just another role that I knew that in order for us to win championships and be successful, that was one that I had to take on, was if I could slow down the best team's player and make sure that he didn't get his average, then we had a great opportunity to win the game.
Where does that sense of perspective come from? You're a young kid at that time. You're not, our age now, talking about the past. Like, to come in and say I'm going to fit a role is a different way of thinking. Was that instilled in you early by parents, coaching? I'm just curious where that confidence and that kind of perspective came from.
Well, I think just me growing up, when I arrived in high school, we went 4-22.
Okay.
And so I told myself then, I was like, if I'm going to continue to play basketball, of course I got to put the work ethic in. But at the same time, I'm not going to go for that again. That feeling of losing that many games and, being the joke, amongst your peers. And so I decided, after that season, that I was going to really, really, hone in on how to get not only my team better, myself better, and just everybody around me, so that we can compete at a high level. And I did that. So we ended up going the next year 25-3 my sophomore year, 26-3 my junior year, and 33-1 my senior year, and we were 9th in the country. So that's pretty unheard of when you go from a school that was predominantly a football school. And I'm not going to say that I did that by myself, but with my teammates, and William Avery was a teammate of mine for 2 years in high school. So we ended up, just changing that culture and just in changing that environment. And, I had to look in the mirror and just say, do you want to feel like this again at the end of a season? And I, took it upon myself, whatever role comes, that it is what it is. I just got to find a way to make sure my team win as a leader.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a little bit about you started teasing William Avery on me. So we're going to talk about that, cutting the head off the dragon and all the things that were talked about with your defensive prowess coming up after this. Imagine a world where all your investment and retirement accounts are seamlessly consolidated into one hub. With Yahoo Finance, that world is a reality. Access expert analysis, manage your entire portfolio with confidence, and take control of your financial future. For over 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the most trusted brand behind every great investor. Whether you are a seasoned pro or just getting started, Yahoo Finance provides everything you need in one space. You're the number one financial destination. Customize your charts, access to independent research, and stay ahead of breaking news. Securely link your brokerage accounts to get a unified view of your wealth, including 401k and other investments. This comprehensive perspective is what sets great investors apart. And Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to manage your wealth effectively. Join over 90 million users each month who rely on Yahoo Finance to guide them towards financial success. Visit yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com, the number one financial institution. All right, Ricky, we have you back here, back on Locked On UConn. Your defensive prowess, as I mentioned in the opening, it was legendary, right? So where did that start to come from? You mentioned the role. Who made up cut the head off the dragon? I think I saw a quote, cut the head off that Scooney dragon from the Ohio State game in the Final Four. Is that where that started, or was that much further back?
I think it was a little bit further back. Going into my junior year, we had Khalid El-Amin, who was a scorer, Richard Hamilton, who was a scorer, Kevin Freeman, Jake Bosco, and myself. We all had to find roles on how to help us win games, and also Roshmel Jones. So I think, I just became someone that would take that mindset into the game. Is if I could slow down the other team's best player, that was my primary focus. And so, and like I said, I knew that would give us a great opportunity to win. And so each game we started to see like we're cutting the head off the dragon on each opponent. And then, the wheel started to turn, so to speak. So we always just kept me on the best player if he was 6'6" or smaller. And then Kevin Freeman would guard anybody else that was 6'6" or taller, other teams' defenders. So I think, and I was thinking about this yesterday as I was watching one of the NBA games. During this 4 years I was at UConn, I was blessed to play with teammates that no matter what your role was, if something happened in the game and it changed the course of the game, we were talented enough to sustain somebody getting in foul trouble, someone getting injured. And that was something that, we had the luxury of doing because we had really, really good basketball players.
No, it's a great comment. So as I was preparing for the interview, I look back, because recollection only gets you so far. I'm 42 this year, so I think I was 17 when you were or 17 years old when you were a senior in high school or senior in college. So I remember certain things, but this was very interesting to me. You come across as very smooth and very laid back, if you will. I'm sure maybe that's not 100% true, but I guess you erupted at halftime of the Ohio State Final Four game, and that was kind of quoted in the newspaper at that time. And did it shock your teammates? Did you have to do that often, or was that are you the type that's quiet and when you talk, people listen because it's man, Ricky doesn't act like this all the time. Is that safe to say, or am I off base there?
No, I think that's safe to say. I think a lot of times, I wouldn't do a whole lot of talking, but I would show it by my actions and my work ethic. So I think when I spoke, guys would listen, and I had their respect because I put the work in first. So a lot of times when guys try to be leaders and their teammates don't see them working, it's kind of hard to listen to somebody like that. But when your teammates see you're grinding it out and working hard every day, waking up 6 o'clock in the morning, getting shots up, you might not necessarily get 5 or 6 shots in a game, but you're putting the work in because you never know when that opportunity is going to present itself, and you must be ready. So I think that's what happened in the Final Four. I know in the Duke game, Khalid got in foul trouble, and I scored 14 points in the first half. And I don't think my teammates were shocked because they would see that in practice, just that competitive nature. So I think a lot of people were shocked in that game because I typically didn't score the ball like that. And those opportunities weren't there either. So, our two guys, going into the game, we knew was going to be Rip and Khalid putting up the most shots. So, when I had the opportunity to score, I just tried to make sure that I was ready and prepared for that opportunity before it got there.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever had a game where I didn't want to shoot a lot. So kudos to you for having that mentality.
Most guys don't want to have that role.
Yeah, well, I also don't think I was ever a defensive specialist either. So I can appreciate the hard work that you put into to be that. I'm not asking you this question. This is something for the audience, but and with Fox Sports and ESPN on your TV all day, have to turn down all the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a 24/7 sports streaming channel. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube, a free Amazon Fire TV channels app as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Before we get to the last segment, Ricky, who would you want to think about your defensive prowess one more time? Is there a guy that you didn't get to go up against that you wish you did in college?
Well, I probably can't answer that because back then you had a few guys, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, guys like that went straight to the league. So,
okay.
So I can't really answer that. That's why, I think one of the things that I really focused on as well was when I had an opportunity to play against someone, I played as hard as I could because, I wanted to make sure that I got the best of them. So I didn't want to, it's no going out there being 80%, 75, playing 75%. I was going to give it 100% anytime I was on the basketball court. And just like I said, be competitive, make it hard on my opponent. And it's so funny. Sometimes I'll see some guys that I've played against in the past. They always say, man, I saw Tony Bland actually this past weekend. And Tony was like, man, this is the honest truth. It's on our scouting report. It said, whoever Ricky Moore is guarding, make sure the other guard brings the ball up the floor. So that is a huge compliment, just knowing, when you're playing, guys really respect your effort. So,
I wonder too, because now you're an assistant coach at North Carolina A&T. Do you ever pull up clips of you shutting down Iverson just as to kind of show these kids that you used to be able to do a couple things on the court?
Well, these guys they're gonna do their research, especially this younger generation. So if you're a coach and you're lying to these kids, don't do it. They're going to Google you. So, but yeah, I've had some compliments, from my players and just saying, Coach, man, back in the day. And I didn't realize you were that good. I said, yeah, man, I played in a league back then in the Big East where hands down, it was the best conference in the country, night in and night out. Mm-hmm. So kudos to all the guys that played back then because it was a dogfight every night. And no matter whether you're a freshman or a senior, you better be ready because it was going to be a fight once they threw that ball up.
That's great. Yeah. I don't know. Was it Kevin Durant who said Google me? I think yes. all the kids do that now, I guess, right?
Exactly.
No, I hear that. Well, listen, we're gonna take one more break and talk to Ricky and play the game. Who do you want? UConn style coming up after this. It's a winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. I think if it was me, I'm going with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think it was plus 290. It might have dropped a little bit the last time we checked, but that's a nice bet to win the NBA title right now. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, we're back with Ricky Moore. Ricky, you said you were watching some NBA. Right now, if you had to pick someone to win it all, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Boston, Minnesota? Is it you got a Indiana versus versus Dallas? Who do you have?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I really like Anthony Edwards, and then of course Jaylen Brown and Tatum. If I had to pick a finals, I would love to see Minnesota and Boston, just because I think that would be a really, really good series. Not saying Dallas wouldn't, but I think it would really, really be a nice series to watch.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. I think you got for me, I got to go with the hot team. They just beat the defending champs. T-Wolves look tough.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, I emailed you this before we first started talking about potentially coming on the show. In 98, 99, high school Mark was walking around his high school with his Walkman or CDs, listening to stupid music. and you guys, not to say DMX is dumb, God rest his soul, but I remember Rough Riders Anthem came out, and then I saw you guys come out to that song. Who chose that? What was the impetus of that? And did that get you guys fired up? Because I know my old self still even listens to that in the gym today if I'm trying to fire myself up.
Yeah, I think that was one of the songs that pretty much everybody on the team was listening to. So that was what we decided to come out and sing, and definitely got us hyped and got us ready to play and amped up. So, but yeah, everybody was listening to that during that time. And so, I think it was a mutual thing amongst the team that was something that we were going to do as we walked out to the court.
Yeah. And I will tell you that permeated everything from age, race, nationality, because our tennis team used to play that song coming out to it in high school. Forget about football, basketball, baseball.
You saying tennis.
Tennis players were coming out to that song. So no, that was that I had to share that with you because that was like the connective tissue. I was like, oh look, they're playing that too. I'll never forget that, man, as long as I live. But we'll play this game. It's called Who Do You Want? And it's simple. You could pick any player, past, present, future, even those who aren't with us anymore, whoever you want in these questions. So let's have some fun with it. My wife and I just bought a minivan. Don't laugh. We have to take a road trip to New York. So I thought about this. If you had to take 3 or 4 players with you in a minivan, who are you taking on a road trip? And you're driving, Ricky. Everyone else is in the back. Maybe you have one person shotgun.
I think as many guys that I can get in the van from the championship team in 99 or 2014. So,
all right, who of all those guys, who's sitting next to you? Who's on the right side?
I would have to say Roshmel Jones, because Rosh was a co-captain, with me for 3 years. So definitely Rosh. But again, I would take as many guys with me as possible because I know we're gonna have a good time.
That's awesome. All right. The new phrase of the new sport that's taking over the nation is pickleball. If you had to pick one guy to be your pickleball partner, who would it be?
That's a good one. I'm trying to think who really. Khalid El-Amin and I had some really good ping pong games, so I would probably pick Khalid.
Okay, I like that. Similar sport, similar strategy. I don't know if you play golf, but if you do, or even if you don't, golf is fun whether you're good at it or not. So it's you and 3 other players. Who's in your golf foursome? Could be coaches too. You could pick coaches. You can do anything you want. Trainers, whatever.
Well, I'm going to take, and I'm not going to be able to say names, but I would take the 3 worst golfers there is, from those teams because
expose them. Because
I play golf a little bit now. I haven't played in a while, but I do play golf. So
Okay.
I would probably take the 3 worst golfers, and we'll just go out and have fun. Sometimes you play in these tournaments and scrambles and things like that, and guys are so serious. When I'm out on the golf course, I like to relax. Guys hit good shots, scream, yell a little bit, and just have some fun.
Absolutely. Okay, so this one's a little more serious. So who do you have in a foxhole? You have to pick one player.
I'd take Deron Sheffer.
Whew, I like it. So these are the names so far that I've gotten. Deron has been said one other time. I got Suleiman Wan earlier.
Su's my guy.
I had mine was Terreno Walker.
I didn't play with Steve, but I heard some stories. So I heard he was tough as nails.
Yep, heard he was a beast. And then Jeff Adrian has been named too.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. So Deron is a new one. That's a great one too. My father was a huge Deron Sheffer fan, also into Dov Hennefeld, that Israeli connection. So that's awesome. I love hearing the old names come on the show to educate the younger fan base. So I appreciate that one. Okay, I got one more for you. If you could pick a we're having that Stars of Stores team that's coming to the kind of the TBT. But that's not the impetus for this. They've had 3-on-3 tournaments. You could take any 3 players from any generation and throw them on a court. You can pick yourself, and we're all in our prime, and you have any 3 for a 3-on-3 tournament against other basketball players in their prime, $1 million tournament, whatever you want to say. Who are your 2 other teammates? Or you're not playing, maybe you're coaching 3 players. UConn.
I probably want to do the coaching. But I would probably pick Richard Hamilton, Ray Allen, and possibly Danielle Marshall.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, man. Well, listen, I really appreciate you. And if you want, please tell people where they can not necessarily find you, because you're coaching, right? So talk to me about A&T for a minute. A little bit about not necessarily how you got there, but just your thoughts on, this process. I know you guys are kind of going through some recruiting stuff. Anything you want to kind of depart the audience with and kind of let people know what you're up to these days, and then we'll sign off.
Well, first and foremost, I definitely want to thank Monte Ross, the head coach here, for giving me an opportunity. I was out for 5 years and then finally got back in last year. And we had a rough year. We were 7 and whatever. Mm-hmm. We had some injuries. We had one kid sit out the first 9 games because of the 2-time transfer rule, and which was our center. And so we played small up until that point. But this year, moving forward, we are finished with our recruiting this season pretty much. We got 4 kids that we think can really come in and help us. We kept the nucleus of the team. And we were really young. I think we were the 8th youngest team in the country last year. So wow. Kids playing against grown men. And now we'll be able to make up some of that space. So I'm excited. I'm excited about what we have and the direction we're going. We're going to change up some things as a coaching staff, sit down and watch a lot of film and see how we can get better and see how we can implement the new guys so that they can make a positive impact moving forward. So I'm excited. I'm truly excited. We're in the CAA, which is truly a great conference, really competitive, really good mid-major conference. And again, I can't say enough. I'm just excited. Like I said, grinding it out. My son is playing. My daughter plays, and my daughter's actually in the recruitment process right now with some D2 and D3 schools. And so I'm staying busy. I mean, it never ends. I've been traveling all over the place for my family and, for work, and hardly any time to spend with the wife at home. But like I told her, it'll get better soon. And before you know it, the kids will be all grown up and gone. So got to spend that time with them. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about what we have coming up here at North Carolina A&T, and with my staff as well. We have a great staff. Jeff Rafferty, Dorian Long, Colin, Nas. So yeah, I'm excited.
Well, I appreciate you, man, and I have one more promo I gotta say, and then I'm gonna sign us off. But it's so appreciative that you took the time to come on. And if you think of it, because I will definitely be coming to one of your games this year for sure. But Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering all of the top stories, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. For the great Ricky Moore, I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, asking you to stay locked in, stay connected, make sure your toughness meter is always rising. And as always, go Huskies. Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you.